I'm Sophie Woodward. I am a set and costume designer. I help come up with the world that the design will sit in. So it often involves reading a script and then working with the director to kind of start to form what that world might be.
Hello, I'm Jacob Battista and I am a freelance set and costume designer. So my role involves everything from coming up with concepts for theatrical plays, scripts, musicals, those kind of things. Coming up with concepts, communicating those concepts, talking with directors, collaborating with people, other designers, other costume set designers, lighting, sound designers, set builders, set painters, until you come up with an entire kind of world. Yes, we collaborate on the same production sometimes. It's something we've started doing more and more.
I guess originally when we started collaborating, it was more in a someone doing set, someone doing costume way. But then over the last few years, we've started kind of sharing the whole vision.
I guess also even when we're not collaborating like formally together on a work, because we are both designing, often having someone else there just to throw ideas to can also be considered a collaboration, if that makes sense. Like, when I'm designing something and I can't solve it, having Sophie look at it and just go, well, what about this? Have you tried this colour? Have you done this? Have you looked at it from this angle? I started in design via a long route through music. I'm one of 4 boys, the oldest of 4 boys. They were all really sporty. My parents didn't really know what to do with me, who didn't like sport. They gave me a trumpet and gave me trumpet lessons at grade 3, and that sent me into kind of music, which sent me in high school into like school shows and stuff, and realised I hated being on stage. So instead of being on stage, I started finding out you could do all this other stuff, like be backstage, do sound, lighting, started doing sound and lighting, and then moved into kind of studying a bit of that. I studied audio for a period of time, and then went to uni, went to Victorian College of the Arts, and just before that, at the end of high school, kind of discovered doing like theatre studies class, there was this kind of set design part of things, and that I was much more interested in building the whole world.
The first show I did outside of uni, it was called A Long Day's Dying, and I had to make a kind of shell of a ruins from a war zone and create this tiny like little broken down space that was sitting in this kind of black void. I mean, I don't know if I would ever do it again now if I was asked, or I'd do it differently, but it was a pretty good outcome for my first go. It was just, I guess I just threw myself in 100% and didn't have any kind of fears. I just went and did it. I think it made me realise what I can do, and that I can give everything a go, and you do have the skills behind you to do that. Also figuring out where to ask for help was probably also a big part of that. But it was kind of a good first step in the journey of realising I could achieve things that once upon a time I couldn't have done.
For theatre, we build little model boxes, like little scale models of what goes on stage and what we build. And you see that little version of what you build is now full scale on stage. And actually that sense of completion, that sense of building something and having it come to life always fills me with joy and energy, and kind of thing that just drives me, if that makes sense. Like, just keeps me going because I have created something in my little head, in my little world, that someone else will get to see, and that kind of keeps me going.
Currently, I am actually really enjoying using a lot of artwork as references, and sometimes they don't really necessarily speak to exactly what the outcome might be, but I often feel like if I read a script, there'll be a lot of images in my brain, and they're really hard to kind of sometimes talk about what those images are or explain them. And what I've found is by looking at different artists' paintings and interpretations of work, I can kind of start to find images that at least can speak to something, even if in their initial image they might not look exactly like what I'm thinking, just kind of to help, I guess, guide that possibility.
I have always been a designer who's been really picked and chosen for creating worlds that feel realistic, creating really kind of realistic settings. They're really finished dressed, which you could almost walk into and feel like you're in your own home or feel like a space you knew. And what is inspiring me a lot at the moment is to actually break out of that world, actually to create spaces that are more symbolic, that are really trying to break my own habits in my design so that people don't just see me as someone who can do one thing, and also find an extra layer in the work I do. Probably we push each other more away from our own style, if that makes sense. Like yours being probably slightly more abstract, I'm just speaking for you now, and mine historically being slightly more realistic has actually probably lent us towards a place that's neither abstract nor realistic in a lot of things, or approaching it from different angles or just with different ideas. So that style being more probably less realistic, more abstract or something, or less kind of fully resolved, more left questions answered.
A big part of it's probably about the people and about the creation of a work. Sometimes after the design process, the rehearsal process, the production process, by the time opening comes along, you can be quite exhausted. But there's something about the fact that when you look at you get to opening night, you look at what's on the stage, and it's something that a whole team of people came together to produce, all of a sudden becomes this kind of exciting thing and keeps you wanting to do the next.
Theatre is a world of long hours, of like, you know, a bump in a technique week can be 80, 90 hours in the theatre. Even more sometimes. I've done shows where, you know, you're at the theatre at 8 a.m, especially in the independent world, you're at the theatre at 8 a.m and you're still there at 3 o'clock in the morning painting something because that's the only time when there's no one on the set. It's just a balance, really, and making sure you have time for yourself.
Having someone who understands why all of a sudden you disappear for 2 weeks, that's helpful. But then
having
also
that support too, like who understands and can support you in that.
And I guess the moments where you are feeling a bit over it, a bit tired, then often the other person isn't in that kind of headspace, and so it kind of does balance you out a bit. And I guess it also probably is that there's someone to share the excitement of the work with, where I guess if you didn't have someone to kind of explain how great your day was or the things that you'd done, good or bad, it'd be a more lonely world, I guess. The advice I'd give up-and-coming designers wanting to get in the industry would be to just get out there and do the work and kind of get in as many places as you can. The connections that you kind of meet along the way will help you get those next jobs. And it sometimes means doing the jobs that maybe aren't as kind of glamorous or they're really hardworking, but the more you can kind of keep doing that, the more you get your foot in a door and then another door, and slowly get yourself an ongoing career.
I feel like I've learnt more. I feel like I have probably stayed with it. Not that I would have ever considered giving it up, but stayed with it for longer and felt like I've been supported more in it in a way because there's someone who understands what you do and understands what you're kind of undertaking.